The notification lit up my phone while I was plating the ham. Motion detected. Master bedroom. I set the serving fork down slowly and slipped into the pantry, heart pounding, and pulled up the live feed from the Nanny cam I'd installed 3 months earlier. On the screen, my sister-in-law Michelle was digging through my jewelry box while my cousin Kevin stood at my closet, unzipping the case where I kept 2 designer handbags I'd saved 2 years to afford. I stood there in that pantry, dessert fork still in my other hand, watching my own family rob me in real time, 12 people deep into a Christmas dinner I'd spent 3 days preparing. I didn't scream. I didn't run upstairs. I walked back to the table with a smile, and I served the ham. Welcome to Revenge Stories Narrated, where family betrayal meets inevitable justice, and karma always collects its debt. My name is Jennifer Doyle. I'm 38. I've hosted Christmas dinner for my extended family for 6 years running, ever since my mother's health made it too hard for her to manage the cooking anymore. It was never entirely comfortable. My side of the family has always had a strange relationship with what's mine, treating my home, my closet, even my pantry, like shared property the moment they walked through the door. I didn't know, setting the table that morning, that this particular Christmas would be the one where I finally found proof of exactly what that relationship had cost me over the years. It started small enough that I told myself it was ordinary family behavior. 2 years ago, my Aunt Linda commented, at my own dinner table, on how some people could afford nice things while others struggled, glancing pointedly at the new watch on my wrist. Last Christmas, I noticed a pair of earrings missing from my dresser 2 days after everyone left, and told myself I'd probably misplaced them, even though I'd never once misplaced jewelry in my life. We'd had 3 break-ins in our neighborhood over the 2 months before this Christmas, enough that my husband, Tom, and I finally installed a full security system, including a small camera in our bedroom closet, mostly aimed at the window, tucked discreetly near the door. Tom used to joke that my family treated our house like a hotel with a full staff, and for years I laughed it off, since laughing felt easier than admitting how much it actually bothered me. My mother-in-law once told me, gently, that I let people walk over me in my own home, and I remember brushing it off, telling her it was simply how big families worked. I lost real trust in my own family over those years without fully naming it. I started locking my bedroom door during gatherings, telling myself it was simply tidiness. I stopped wearing certain pieces of jewelry to family events entirely, quietly moving them to a safe deposit box instead. I noticed myself tensing every time someone asked to use the upstairs bathroom, since it was the one closest to our bedroom. That morning, I unlocked the door myself, since 12 people needed somewhere to put their coats, and told myself I was being paranoid for even hesitating. I even asked Tom once, quietly, whether he thought I was being unfair by locking the door at all, and he told me plainly that trusting people shouldn't require armor in your own bedroom, a comment that stuck with me longer than I expected it to. If you've ever had family members treat your home like something they were entitled to take from, tell me in the comments, because I want to know I'm not the only one who's lived through that. I served the entire main course that afternoon with a smile on my face, refilling wine glasses, complimenting my aunt's dessert, all while knowing exactly what was sitting in Michelle's purse and Kevin's jacket pocket. Every time I passed the pantry, I glanced at my phone, watching the recorded clips save automatically to the cloud, 3 separate angles capturing Michelle opening my jewelry box, Kevin unzipping the handbag case, and a third clip I hadn't expected at all, my Uncle Frank quietly pocketing a small antique watch that had belonged to my grandmother. It was during coffee, standing at the counter refilling the pot, that I heard Michelle whisper something to Kevin in the hallway, thinking no one else could hear. Just don't say anything until we're in the car. She'll never even notice. My hands shook slightly, setting the coffee pot back down, and I remember thinking, clearly, that I needed to look completely ordinary for the next hour, since one wrong expression could send all 3 of them running before I had everything I needed saved. She had no idea I already had 3 separate clips proving exactly the opposite. I didn't confront anyone during dinner. I quietly downloaded the footage to my laptop and my phone, and I put together a short video, 4 clips total, each one time-stamped, each one impossible to argue with. I told everyone at the table I had a small surprise before we opened gifts, a video I'd been meaning to put together for a while. I made sure to back the files up in two separate places that afternoon, one on my laptop and one on a private cloud folder Tom didn't even know existed yet, since I wasn't about to let a single clip disappear before I was ready to use it. Gathering everyone around the television in the living room, I connected my laptop and said, I wanted to share something special before we open presents. The first clip played. Michelle at my jewelry box. The room went quiet in a way I'd never heard at a family gathering before. Jennifer, that's not what it looks like, Michelle said, standing up too fast, her wine glass nearly tipping over. It looks exactly like what it is, I said, letting the second clip play. Kevin at my closet. Kevin didn't even try to explain. He just stared at the screen, his face going pale as the third clip started. My Uncle Frank pocketing my grandmother's watch, an object he'd once told me himself, years earlier, that he'd always wished had gone to him instead of me. The room stayed silent through the fourth clip, all three of them caught on camera at different times throughout the afternoon, moving through my bedroom like it belonged to them. My father, sitting near the back of the room, later told me he'd suspected something was wrong for years, ever since a similar incident at a birthday party nobody ever fully explained, but he'd never had proof solid enough to say so out loud until that night. I want everything back, I said.
Right now.
On this table. Michelle emptied her purse first, my jewelry landing on the coffee table piece by piece. Kevin retrieved the handbags from his car, where he'd apparently already moved them during dessert. Frank, quiet and red-faced, handed over the watch without a word. The same secrecy they'd counted on to get away with taking from me quietly ended up being captured just as quietly, and played back to the exact room full of people they'd hoped would never find out. I called the police that evening, not to be cruel, but because a pattern of theft, confirmed on video, across multiple family members, deserved more than a quiet apology and an early exit. 2 officers arrived within the hour, reviewed the footage, and took statements from everyone in the room, including several relatives who'd had no idea what had been happening upstairs while they ate dessert downstairs. Michelle and Kevin were both charged with theft. Given it was their first offense and the items were fully recovered, they received fines and community service rather than jail time. 2 of the officers who responded that night mentioned they'd seen similar cases before, family members mistaking closeness for permission, and one of them told me quietly on his way out that installing the camera, even quietly at first, had probably been the smartest decision I'd made all year. Frank, given his age and the smaller value of the single item involved, received a formal warning, though the humiliation of that Christmas evening followed him at every family gathering since. Michelle's own 2 children stopped coming to family events with her afterward, staying instead with their father on holidays, something Michelle mentioned once, bitterly, as if it were somehow my fault rather than the direct result of what she'd done in my bedroom that afternoon. Kevin's mother, my own aunt, called me the following week, not to defend him, but to ask, quietly, how long this had actually been going on, since she said she'd noticed small things missing from her own house over the years too, and had never once connected it to him until that video played on my television. The rest of the evening emptied out fast. My mother, shaken but firmly on my side, helped me clear the dessert table while the other guests quietly said their goodbyes, unsure what to say to a room that had just watched 3 relatives get caught stealing on camera in real time. I changed the locks the next week and I upgraded the security system again, adding cameras I don't hide anymore, mounted openly where everyone can see them the moment they walk in the door. My mother told me afterward that watching those clips play on my television reminded her of every small suspicion she'd quietly buried over the years and never acted on, and she said she was proud of me for finally being the one who did. This Christmas, I hosted again a smaller gathering, just my parents, Tom's side of the family, and the handful of relatives who never once gave me a reason to doubt them. Michelle sent a card in November, an apology, careful and short. I haven't responded yet, and I'm in no hurry to. Tom says the house feels lighter this year, and I think he's right, since I no longer spend every family gathering quietly counting the minutes until everyone's coats are back on and the door is shut behind them. I stood in that pantry last Christmas holding a serving fork, watching my own family rob me in real time, and I served the ham anyway with a smile, because I already knew exactly how the night was going to end before a single gift was ever opened. If you've ever had to quietly gather proof instead of confronting people the moment you found out, you already know it works better that way. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one, and tell me down below what you would have done the moment that notification lit up your phone.